my number one advice would be to make time for things outside of studies and work. Like, don't make all your life about grades and money and things like that.
But how do you say no to opportunities without feeling guilty or missing out?
You are very, very young and you're just learning how to live.
What's one mistake you made early on that kind of turned into a major career lesson or a life lesson? Hello, everyone. My name is Kennedy Porter, and welcome back to EssayPro, Mastering Multitasking as a Student, Academics versus Work. Today, we are met today by Sakshi Udavant. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, it's Sakshi Udavant.
Udavant, beautiful. Can you just tell the people a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Hi, I'm Sakshi Udavant. I also go by Luna, if that's easier.
Okay.
I am a content writer, freelance journalist, and I have been working with some of the very top tier brands that you have surely heard about, like PayPal, Mozilla, Investopedia, Reader's Digest, Chicago Tribune, NBC, Business Insider. And today I'm going to talk about how to master multitasking as a student, because I started journalism and freelancing when I was pursuing a psychology degree. So I'm very excited to speak with you today.
Oh, beautiful. We're very grateful to have you here. We're going to get into a couple questions. So, you've been building a writing career, as we know, while studying psychology. What was the beginning of that journey for you?
Sure. So when I first started writing, it was just as a hobby. I never decided to do it professionally at first. I just started writing as a kid. I would do like poetry. I started my own blog. I would participate in writing contests and stuff like that. So at that time, I never really worried about multitasking because it was just something I could do in like my free time on the weekends, during vacations, or whenever I felt inspired to do something creative. It was more of exploration of my creativity rather than something that I felt obligated to do. But as I began writing more and more, I started getting opportunities. People wanted me to write for them. They wanted to pay me. And I'm like, really? Why not? And that's basically how I got started. And at that time, I was still pursuing my psychology degree. So that's how I kind of started doing both at once.
Yeah. I mean, you had mentioned that it kind of came from being inspired. Was there something in particular in your surrounding that kind of inspired you to pursue both of them at the same time? Like your academics and the writing, or was it kind of just an
Sure. So it was like when I was doing it for fun and people loved it. Like I used to post my stuff online, like I started my own blog and my poetry accounts and things like that. And people were like, they started following me, they started texting me. And this was really unexpected because I never did it for the audience reaction. Like I thought nobody was going to read it. You know, you have that image in your mind, that Instagram page with like 5 followers and 3 of them are like your parents and siblings. So like that is what I had in mind. So when people actually started paying attention to my work, I was like, okay, this could become something, you know, this is no longer about me just screaming into the void. Like this is actually reaching people. And then companies started reaching out and I was like,
It's always
so
good when
very
that happens.
yeah, it's so unexpected. And when like recognizable names started reaching out to me, like most of the big name clients that I've worked with, I never pitched them. Like they found my work online and people from their company reached out to me and they were like, hey, we love what you do, would you like to write for us, would you like to work for us? And I was like, yes. I mean, so that's how I just wanted to see like, okay, how far can this go? Like, of course, like, you know, can I work with like Business Insider? Can I work with PayPal? Can I work with Mozilla? Like, you know, just how much can I push my boundaries?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned working with these big companies. Do you feel like the confidence to do this came from working with them? Like juggling both, your academics and your freelance writing. Did you always feel confident doing both of those, or was that something that kind of took time to develop, like to find your rhythm?
I think I let it happen naturally. So I never really sat down and made a schedule. Like this is when I'm going to study. This is when I'm going to work. I just let the flow like take me because it's so different. Sometimes when you have your exams and stuff and you might want to focus on that a little bit more and put freelancing on the back burner. But then there are times when, you know, nothing is really happening on the academic end and you can just work. And that's how I sort of experimented a little, see what works, what doesn't. And because I started from like really nothing, so it was easier to build up the schedule because I didn't have a lot of responsibility and I could experiment with
Hmm.
what kind of schedule works, how much do I need to work, because there was nothing like an 8 hour work day. I could just work like 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, and I could
Hmm.
just scale it up from there. And
Yeah.
I think honestly, like because of my background in psychology, like I would love to have this perspective that a lot of this really depends on your personality and your like mental tendencies, because there
Hmm.
are some people who are like just wired to do multiple things at once,
Yeah.
and there are some people who just can't. Like I know somebody like my mother, for example, like she would really love to focus on one thing at a time, but I am someone who's like very mentally active and like this high imagination. I want to do this and that and this and that. So like I feel
Yeah.
like my naturally sort of scattered personality really suits this type of multitasking, but I know people who really can't do that well.
Yeah, I totally get that. Along the lines of that, do you feel like you mentioned being like super kind of just high energy, right? So with that, do you believe in that every student should kind of have like a work-life balance? I mean, it's probably different for everybody, but do you believe that there's more of seasons of intensity and rest, or kind of just
Mm.
like just go for it all the way, you know?
I love this question because I've written so much about it. Like if you just read my blog, I've been writing so much about discipline because like based on my background in psychology, I used to read all of these things about productivity and stuff and like experimenting myself in this realm. I was like, none of this advice works. Like in
Mhm.
real life, it doesn't work. And
Yeah.
I was like, I used to feel like there was something wrong with me because I was like, I can't do this, all this traditional advice, it just doesn't work for me. And I spent a lot of time thinking that I was doing something wrong and that I'm not disciplined enough and things like that. But I feel like the more I leaned into just following my natural rhythms, like can I go really hard and get things done, 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 done. And
Mhm.
when I need to like step back and sort of just rejuvenate a little bit and just understanding how my mind works, what is my work tendency and rhythm, I think that made a huge difference.
Okay, good.
um, and I feel like this kind of model doesn't really work for like traditional jobs because you're required to be in an office from like a 9 to 5, and you have
Yeah.
to just sit there
The
even if you
rest
feel
is scheduled
productive.
for you. Yeah.
But there is no rest really, because
Yeah.
even when you're not, you're supposed to be on all the time and you're supposed to just, be
Hmm.
productive, whether your mind is ready for it or not. And like, I'm like, I don't think this model works from like a human perspective. I mean, sure, from like a company productivity perspective
Yeah.
maybe, but like for human creativity perspective, it just fails everyone. And
Hmm.
like there was just like a little line I wanted to read out from what I wrote about it because it stays
Yeah.
with me, and it was like if you force performance out of yourself, like you're going to get even low quality results,
Mhm.
because what happens is like you deplete yourself, you deplete the willpower, the energy, the creativity and focus. And the more you keep forcing yourself to work, no, I have to get this done, I have to sit at my
Mhm.
desk, like this is my deadline, it's like the worse you start performing. At some
Mhm.
point what you're doing is like just garbage, like like it
Yeah.
would have been better to just like sleep, like
You're
rejuvenate
diluting your
yourself.
mind power. You know?
Something
It's
like
it,
that. Like you're messing with your brain. like
yeah. I
like just quit
agree.
it.
I
Yeah.
agree. Like scheduling, following a strict schedule of work-life balance isn't for everyone, you know? Everyone kind of has their own motors that go within them. And if they feel like they need a rest, they should take it. But to follow a certain schedule, it's not for everyone, you know? I
Mm.
totally get
And
that.
even like even with the rest and this model of 5 days of work and like 2 days of rest, I feel like it doesn't really make sense for everybody, because for me there are some days where I'm like I can sit like 8 hours straight and I can do like 5 projects. I'm unstoppable. I feel like
Yeah.
this force of nature and things like that. But the next morning I'm like, what emails? What are
Right.
emails? Like,
Never
and
heard
I
of
feel
those.
like I'm like one email, 5 typos. I'm like, I am done.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Along the lines of that,
Mhm.
experiencing burnout, what are the
Mm.
signs that a student might be burning out while trying to do it all? Like having those days, like what do you look for, or what can you see in someone who's going
Mm. I think definitely resistance and like reluctance to do anything at all. When
through
you
that? Hmm.
feel like I'm sick of it, like I don't want to look at my textbook, I don't want to sit on my leg. When you feel done,
Yeah,
like no, you're just
yeah.
like nope. When you just cannot do it, like no amount of discipline and productivity techniques work for you. You're just like nope, not
Mhm.
today, not me. Sorry,
Yeah.
fail me if you want. I just cannot do this anymore. I feel like that is like an extreme point of burnout, and ideally you should not be reaching that point. ideally, like I would say, like just know yourself and start recognizing when you feel like your output quality is going down, when you feel like, I really need to step back a little bit and rest. And a lot of people confuse this with like social media scrolling. They're like, oh, I worked and now I feel done, so I'm going to look at social media. And that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking
Hmm.
about is like restorative rest. You know what I mean? So stuff
Yeah.
like, spending time in nature, or like, getting like good sleep, like eating something healthy, getting exercise, something that really like rejuvenates you from the inside, and not stuff
Hmm.
like Reddit or, that
No.
kind of really numbs your brain, not that.
Instagram, doom scrolling, no.
No, 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 no.
Take a
But
good,
people
nice
like to say
meditative
like, yeah,
nap.
I'm just taking a break. I need a break, but that's, you're just deluding yourself. No.
Body's resting, but the mind is on overdrive, seeing all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't count.
Exactly.
I totally get that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Sakshi, what is something that you do or something that helps you out to keep you motivated when the work's piling up and deadlines overlap? Is there like a
Mm-hmm.
certain ritual or regimen you have?
Well, understand why you're doing what you're doing. Like some people are working maybe because they need to pay the bills. Maybe somebody's studying because they're really passionate about the subject. Like there's something that is, you're doing this for a reason. Like what is
Hmm.
your reason? Even if you're just doing this because you're supposed to, like, do you like the subject? Do you
Hmm.
feel like you're exploring any of your interests? Do you feel like your work is helping you learn new skills? Do you feel like you're applying yourself? Do you feel like you're exploring and building your potential? Like, figure out what really gets you going. Because
Hmm.
stuff like salary or like grades, and it kind of starts feeling very, very superficial at some
Yeah.
point, and you feel like it's not a motivating factor. It's like in psychology, there's things like intrinsic motivation and
Hmm.
extrinsic motivation. It's like extrinsic motivation is like, I tell you, like, I'll give you $10 if you do this task. And you're like, okay, sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And if you are at the point that we just talked about, if you're just like done, at that
Hmm.
point, I can give you $100 and you're like, I don't want it.
Yeah.
You just
Because it's
cannot, you just
externally
don't,
impacted.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you have the intrinsic motivation, it's like, I love this subject, or, I love my job because I'm very passionate about this. Then I can tell you that you will give me $10 and you're like, yes, I'll still do it.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get that. It's like finding what you love and doing it because you love it, not because of any
Mm-hmm.
other external factors like the money or whatever. Even though
Mm.
money's nice, but it's like finding that inner drive, your why of why you're sticking up with the all the deadlines and the work piling up. That's very good. I like
Yeah,
that.
but even the external factors can be intrinsic. Like, for
Mhm.
example, say I love traveling. And for
Mhm.
me, maybe the job I'm doing is not exciting enough. But the thought that, like this $100 means my next flight, this two
Okay.
hundred bucks means my next hotel. Like that is something that can ignite the fire within you. So it's
Yeah.
not that extrinsic motivation is a waste. It can be if it is tied to something intrinsic that is
Mhm.
meaningful to you.
Okay. Yeah, I totally get that. Thank you. What advice would you give to students looking to earn through writing or side gigs? Like earn money or
Hmm.
experience or anything?
Don't neglect your academics for money.
Okay.
Just, yeah, because I know a lot of people do that. It's like when you start making your first money, like you're a teenager, you're in school or college, and you get the first paycheck or something. It's very, very
Mhm.
tempting to put the academics aside and be like, let me get more money, let me act, because it opens access to so many experiences. Like suddenly you can go to the cool cafe, suddenly you can book a plane ticket, suddenly you can go on a nice date, and it really
Yeah.
opens up this new facet of life, and you're like, let me get more money, let me do this and
Hmm.
that. And I feel like academics kind of fall behind when you start running behind money, and I would highly advise people not to do that, because you're always going to make money. You're probably going to make the money the rest of your life, but you
Exactly.
are only doing your degree right now. You are pursuing your studies probably only once, so
Mm.
like really don't miss out on that just for like side money or whatever. Like that can be done later, not your academics.
Yeah.
But like, I also want to share like a personal story about this, because it's like the opposite of the advice I
Yeah.
just
Please
gave.
do.
So when I first started building my business, like I mentioned, it wasn't serious, and I was just like, okay, let's see what happens. And of course, my priority was my academics. But
Mhm.
like as I started getting bigger and bigger projects, like I could see the scale shifting, because I reached a point where my career was at a peak, and like I was making insane money. And this was like, from a student perspective, this was crazy stuff. This was not cafe money or date money. This was like money, money. And I
Seven
was like,
dollar matcha money.
so I was like, like I was like, what if this could be my career path? Like, what if this could be something that I do for the rest of my life, or like for a significant chunk of time? And I started really considering my options. And when I finished my degree, I had two options. One was to either go abroad and pursue psychology, like higher studies and get licensed and stuff like that. But that would mean that would have to leave this behind. And the second
Hmm.
option was to like really leave that behind and go
Yeah.
this way. And it was like, what do you do? It's like you are making crazy money. And it was not just about money, because I was growing so much. I was doing really the kind of projects that were forcing me to up level every single day. They were big projects, because when you're working with a company, say like a business insider, you cannot do mediocre work. Like that's not
Hmm.
an option. Like you really have to
Wait,
give
what is
your
that?
best.
Mediocrity?
Business insider, like you
Oh,
cannot do mediocre work.
media. Okay.
Mediocre work. Like you cannot be average.
Oh, mediocre work. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No mediocre work here.
Yeah, so I was like up leveling so much. I was learning so many things. Like I was really growing, and I felt
Hmm.
like I may or may not have the same opportunities in the other path. So like this
Yeah.
was like the exact opposite perspective. Like sometimes what you're doing on the side can become bigger than the academics you're pursuing, and
Hmm.
then that might be a wiser decision to just pursue that full time.
Yeah.
So that is really, there's no right or wrong answers. You know your situation best. Talk to people who are maybe in the industry who can advise you. Don't make
Hmm.
impulsive decisions.
Exactly.
But yeah, but
Seek
really
advice.
consider your options. Yeah.
Yeah. Get some good advice. Follow your intuition. It'll all plan out
Mm.
in the correct way. That's
Mm-hmm.
good. Um, Speaking of, kind of just starting out, how can students how can students build a portfolio even if they're just starting out? And what is your take on them doing unpaid internships for exposure for them?
Mm. Uh, well, let's start with the first question.
Yeah.
This is very easy in today's world. Like, even if you don't have a portfolio, I feel like maybe 10, 20 years ago, this was difficult. But
Hmm.
today, it's just very easy because there's just so many platforms online to put yourself out there. Like, you
Hmm.
could just start your blog. It's absolutely free. You don't need a single cent. Just get like a WordPress blog or whatever.
Hmm.
Just put it on medium.com. Like, there's just so many options. Start a Substack, like whatever you like,
Substack. I was just
whatever.
about to mention
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, just
I've heard of
whatever
that.
works for you. I know some people have had problems with Substack, so I wanted to be cautious about
Okay.
recommending any platforms. But yeah, whatever works for you. I feel like just start writing stuff that you are interested in. Start having some examples of your work out there, because I feel like this was very interesting for me to figure out. So like I write a lot in tech, and I had a lot of good tech clips, and like early in my career, when I would apply to tech gigs, sometimes I wouldn't hear back, and I was like, why? I know I'm perfect for this job, and I know I'm
Hmm.
good at it. I'm like, I don't know why I'm not hearing back. And then I realized like they don't know. They haven't seen the clips, they haven't seen the work I do,
Hmm.
because I was like, I never shared the full spectrum of what I've done. Like I never showcased it, like, okay, here's what I can do. I was just expecting that they will magically know that I'm a
Yeah.
good fit for this job. So I was like, you have to put your work out there, even if like no publication is working with you, does not matter. Just put your best clips, best work out there, put it on free platforms, start a newsletter, start a podcast, you do whatever you can do. Show people what you can do, show
Right.
them like, you need a
Yeah.
platform. It's very easy, it's free nowadays, and it builds that muscle. Like a lot of people are really scared of publishing. They're like, I can write it in my diary, but I cannot publish. And I feel like it helps you get over that fear. It helps you get feedback when people comment, when people read, not just your parents, like actual readers. Like when
Hmm.
people start like interacting with your stuff, it helps you understand like what it is like to put stuff out there,
Yeah.
get feedback, improve your craft.
Exactly. It's kind of like a rejection therapy, if you will, Kind of just like people who
Exactly.
have no invested interest in your well-being,
Mm.
reading your stuff can be the most honest sometimes. That's
Yeah. And
good to
also
do with
just
your
like it helps you sort of like be a little disciplined about it.
hmm.
So if you're just writing in your diary or whatever, you can be like, oh, I'll write when I want to write, or I'll not write. But if you have like a blog or a newsletter, you're like, I have to publish.
Yeah.
I should put something out there.
It's scheduled time.
Yeah, it's like a consistency. It's a practice of consistency, of finding your intrinsic motivation and learning to just overcome that resistance of, never mind.
Yeah, I'll do it later. Okay, that's good.
Mm.
I like that. Speaking of kind of figuring all that out, what is one mistake that you made early on in your career that turned into a major, either a life lesson or a career lesson?
Oh wait, I just realized we didn't talk about the unpaid internship. So like just
Oh
going
yeah,
back to
let's go back
that.
to unpaid internships.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a lot to say on this. And that's the reason I was like, let's take it one at a time because
Hmm.
this work for exposure and free work, it's like it's a lot. It's a big topic
Talk
that
to me.
in the freelance world.
Yeah.
And it's not just about students and freelancing, because I feel like at this point, it's a discussion about the gig industry as a whole, all the employment crisis. And if you read the news about like the Amazon workers and like the writer's strike, and there's just a lot going on
Hmm.
because the gig industry is exploding. And I feel like the systems haven't been like catching up with the amount of gig workers. And there are just no systems and rights and sort of it's just not built enough to sustain the kind of explosion and proliferation of gig workers. And when I was starting out, a lot of senior freelancer advised me, like, you should never work for free. You know, it's exploitory. And I get that. I get that because, see, it's a loop. It's like people who are just starting out, they are like, I just need bylines. I just need to put my work somewhere. I just need to get published. So they're willing to work for free or like really cheap. Fiwa, the company, it's like $5 work. It's like
Hmm.
people are paying $5 for like ebooks and logos and stuff like that. It's crazy, but it's like people just want to get published. People want something in their portfolio. So like students, early career people, they're willing to work for free. And companies know that, hey, we can get free work. Like we don't have to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars. We can pay like $5, and somebody
Yeah.
from like a lower wage country will happily do it for us. So there's like a proliferation of these exploitatory opportunities.
Hmm.
And then the more people see it, and it goes on and on. And then I feel like it's just very unfortunate that it has become normalized.
Mm.
People think that, of course, work for exposure and work for free and free internship, this is normal, like this is stepping stone for like growth. And it doesn't have to be. I feel like it's
Hmm.
built on a very exploratory model, and I think we need to break out of it. But at this point, I feel like it's escalated so much, and I find it really baffling because nowadays there are legacy publications. This is like really blowing my mind because there are legacy publications. Like, not only do they not pay you, but you pay them to write
No,
for them. Yeah, yeah, it's for real. You pay
that's
them.
crazy.
Yeah, and you write for them and they publish it and they make money. But you've already paid them and you get nothing out of it.
Oh my gosh.
Like how does that work? Like,
That's
why am I paying you?
Dude, that's kind of like I feel like that's across a lot of kind of artistries because I remember I had some friends who did music and
Mm,
they would do shows like kind of like mini shows at certain bars, but they would have to pay the people at the
mm,
bar to do the show. It's kind of weird
exactly.
that that
Yeah.
works. Like bigger corporations or I guess key holders kind of just
Mm,
exploiting young talent. It's unfortunate. It's got to be something we
mm.
can do about that.
Yeah, but it's like they make money out of it. Like you will
Mhm.
pay them, but they also make money out of that. Like you mentioned, the musicians they perform, but the bar or whatever, they're also making
Mhm.
money from the people who
Exactly.
watch it. So it's like,
It's
and I
crazy.
feel like the reason it blows my mind is because it's such a crazy idea. I'm like,
Mhm.
who let this get normalized? Like, who decided like this was an okay thing? Like this was acceptable? Like, who is the decision
Yeah.
maker here?
Who
It's
did it?
crazy.
Where are they at? Yeah, it's atrocious, truly. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Anything else to say on that?
Well, yeah, no, I just feel like it's a big discussion, and this would really turn into like an unemployment crisis, economic
Mhm.
crisis podcast. So I think we can move on.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's hope we don't get too big into unemployment. Let's see what we're working with. Okay. Back to this. Speaking
Mhm.
of kind of these unpaid internships, I don't know if you kind of went down
Mhm.
that route, but what's one mistake you made early on that kind of turned into a major career lesson or a life lesson?
Mm. Honestly, I don't think any of the things I did was a mistake because I
Hmm.
feel like we're just figuring it out. Of course, we do things that later we think we're cringe or like unhappy with.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's just part of growth because when I entered the industry, like I didn't have any connections, like none of my parents or like friends or anybody was there to like hold my hand and guide me through this stuff.
Hmm.
I was stupid and I was doing things I had no idea how to do. Yeah, because I still remember like in my initial assignments, like when an editor sent me something to work on, I asked them how to do it because I had no idea. He
Hmm.
was like, write this, and I was like, how?
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, I was very, very willing to be absolutely stupid and to make a lot of mistakes and just be ridiculous sometimes because I remember like very early on when I had like very little bylines, I had like no portfolio. I
Mhm.
pitched Business Insider. I was like,
Look at me.
I was
No,
like,
yeah,
what's the worst thing? What's the worst thing that would happen? They'll say no, they'll ignore
yeah,
my email, they'll delete it, they'll block me. It's
exactly.
not like they'll come to my house and shoot me in the face. Like, how dare you
They'll
pitch
murder
business?
you because you emailed them.
Yeah. So I was like, I just took crazy risks. Like if you talk to other freelancers, the kind of stuff I did, they would be like, she's crazy. Like
Yeah.
that's not how you freelance. But I feel
Mhm.
like that is what helped me go from like 0 to 100 like really fast because I was willing to be crazy. It was like,
Take big risks. That's good.
mm,
It's so much
mm-hmm.
better when you have nothing to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Everything to
love
gain.
that.
All they can
Yeah.
do is say yes
No.
or no. Your life will change if they say yes. Nothing will change if they say no. Just take those big
Mm-hmm.
leaps. This goes for every career, I
Mm.
think, but especially this.
Mm.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I love that. I love that you mentioned there was a zero consequence because
Yeah.
it's like I really had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But the upside was like just in case, like a small chance. Like if they said yes, I was like,
Your life has
can you
changed for the
imagine?
better. It's
Exactly.
amazing.
And that happened. And that happened. The Business Insider editor, he said yes. I had no
Yes,
bylines. I had no
exactly.
bylines. Like I had nothing to show. I was like very, very new to this. And the only reason he said yes was because I took the risk. I did what I could do best. I tried. And I feel like I
Yeah.
owe a lot of my success to just trying and taking risks and sending those emails and just putting myself out there. This is not luck. I did not come from like some privileged family that would get me paid me to be
Hmm.
published in places. Like I just did it because I was like, let me see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, that's all it
Mhm.
is. That's all it takes. Wow, I'm really happy you went through that. It's good. Trial
Thank
by fire. In the same vein as that, right? We mentioned that, if they say no, nothing changes.
Mm.
They say yes, everything's great, right? But how do you say no to opportunities without feeling guilty or missing out?
Ooh, that is crazy. I feel like a lot of it depends on your position in the industry and the kind of background you come from.
Hmm.
Because if you're like a very senior writer, say you are like the senior writer of New York Times, you can say no to everything and you can be
Yeah.
like very, very choosy and selective. But if you're like a new writer who's just entered the industry, you're like, oh, I'll do anything. I'll do anything. I'll do it for
Pay
$1.
me.
Don't even pay me. I'll pay you. So
Exactly.
so it's like it really depends on where you're at and also like I mentioned your financial background and stuff because some people have like spouses with a very good job or like they have family incomes that supports their career and they're just doing freelancing on the side or things like that. I think they can be very, very selective about what they want to do. So I see a lot of this advice about choose your projects, do what aligns with you, and I'm like, yeah, that's for rich people.
Exactly. If you
Like
got the
that's
bag,
not
you can say no.
yeah. That's not for people who can leave money on the table because there are people who are living like paycheck to paycheck. They're behind on rent. They're eating out of noodles. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't think they can be like, oh, this doesn't vibe with me. This does not resonate with me. Like, I
Exactly.
don't think you can do that. So
Yeah.
it really depends. But of course, you don't have to do every opportunity that comes your way. But I feel like it's a balance between knowing what's like downright exploratory,
Hmm.
like I mentioned, like if you have to pay people to work for them, I think that's like extreme and you better like
Yeah.
that's a
Are
red
those the
flag.
kind, have you ever had to say no to any? And if so, like, what's been the reasons, if you care to share? If it's personal, I
Yeah,
get it.
sure. No, like it's a lot of times I feel like sometimes they seem very sus. They seem like scams and
Hmm.
it's like if it feels sketchy, if they are like there's no email, there's no like proper website,
Hmm.
you just don't feel like it's actually a client. I feel like they're just going to steal my money or like
Oh, yeah.
hack me or something weird. I feel like whatever little money I might get if it's a legitimate opportunity is not worth the risk. Or
Hmm.
sometimes it's like something that you don't think you can do. It's like I am not very like I cannot write about politics or sports or things like that. And I feel like
Yeah.
even if you pay me like $10,000 to do that, I'm like, okay, but I mean, I don't think you like it.
I'll try.
Like yeah, but I feel like if I try to be honest in those cases. I'm like I can do it, but
Mhm.
like I don't think I'm the best fit. Like
Yeah.
you can find writers who are more passionate about the subject and they might give you a better result. Like I'm just not a person for this.
It's
But
good to
like
be
I can
honest.
say
Yeah.
this now because like I have reached a point where I have a lot of projects and I can be a little selective. But like if you gave me like, whatever sports, Messi, I read about Messi. Like in early careers, I was like anything. I learned
Yeah.
about football one day, no problem.
Okay. Yeah, just watch a couple soccer games. You're an expert.
Yeah. Just call your friends. I'm like, you know Messi, right? Yeah,
You know
yeah. Just tell
Lionel,
me
right?
whatever.
You know
Yeah.
Lionel Messi. Okay. That's great. What would you say? Like for me, okay, for me it's like I wake up, I meditate, I do my push-ups.
Mm.
What would you
Ooh.
say is one daily or weekly habit you'd recommend for every student juggling school and work? Like something that maybe
Wow.
like, eases their mind or like makes sure that their day runs smoothly, you know?
Hmm. You're way too productive, man.
I know, I gotta
you,
start the day off
you,
right, or I'll start
you're
off
doing
like a
too
slug.
much.
It's crazy, I know.
You need to procrastinate. Like, that is my advice for
No,
you.
no, if I do that, I would never get out of bed. I would never.
No, but I love that. Like being able to like start your morning right. Like I feel like
Mhm.
that sets the day really well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
So to answer your question, I feel like my number one advice would be to make time for things outside of studies and work. Like don't
Mhm.
make all your life about grades and money and things like that. Just find something to do. Like I feel like in like online language, get a life, touch grass.
Exactly. Get out the
It's
chair.
like like really go outside, like find something to do, like go swimming, like go cycling, like do something, get light on your face. Like don't sit in front of the computer all day. I feel like I used to do this, like just being behind my desk like all day long, and like
Yeah.
I was like, when was the last time I saw the sun? Like what does the sun look like? Like
Empire
what is
mode.
sunshine?
What's
So
your habit? Like, what do you like to do?
I really, I have really weird work hours. If you have noticed, it's like midnight now. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so I
definitely.
kind of, because I have to align my work with like US European hours. So
Hmm.
I kind of like will work in the midnight and then get up in the morning or afternoon. And it's like, so for I do not touch work. I do not get in front of a desk. I do not do productive things first thing in the morning. I will
Hmm.
like eat. I will do things that rejuvenate me from within, like some things that really relax me and make me feel good. And I feel like I want to be human first and not a productivity machine first thing in the morning.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Have a nice breakfast, pet a cat, touch some
Mm.
grass. That's good.
Touch grass, yes, please
Touch
touch
grass.
grass. See sunlight, please. Let sunlight exist in your life.
Good, good,
Please.
good. That's good. Um, Speaking of kind of, keeping everything together and making stuff work, are there tools or certain apps that kind of help you
Mm.
stay on top of everything?
I need apps, man.
Of
I
course.
don't think I would. I don't think I would survive without apps. Like I am such a digital person. I have
Mhm.
to be. Like in today's day and age, I don't think you can really unplug and live like off the grid. Like
It's hard for sure if you want to do anything
yeah.
ever.
I mean, I make money online, so
Yeah.
so I don't think it works for me. So definitely tools. I rely on so many tools, but I have never paid a subscription to anything. I don't think
Mhm.
you need all of these fancy tools and subscriptions
Yeah.
because I feel like they distract you more. It's like,
Mm.
oh, this is fancy. Let me try this. Oh, pink backgrounds. And I feel like you don't get things done. So
Yeah.
I mostly do use free tools. I feel like I just use like the Google Calendar to like time block, just like,
Good.
oh, this is the meeting, this is work, this is my appointment, things like that. And like Google Tasks or any of these free task apps, they are really good for reminders, like day to day, like, oh, this is due today and I have to submit this tomorrow. Simple. And like Google Keep or like any of the notes app, your basic notes app in the phone is good when you need some details. But
Yeah.
like eventually I did build like a personal Notion setup with
Okay.
like, because I felt like I was managing so many projects. So I was like, I had to like track the pitches I was sending, like the multiple clients. Like everybody would ask something else. Like one client would be, we don't like commas. And I'm like, okay. The other client would be like, we need commas. And I was like,
You don't
oh,
like
okay.
commas. They're necessary unless you just
No, I mean
have no
like,
pauses ever.
no, if you pay me, I will make sure you never see a comma again.
Wow.
That's not a problem.
That's talent. That's talent right there.
No, but like to manage all of these expectations, and like some clients are like, we need big headings, like 10 times the font. I'm like, okay. Some clients are like, the heading should not exist. I'm like,
Okay.
okay. But like what I'm trying to say is like to manage all of these expectations, what I do is like I'll just make a folder for like each client and like this is what they like, this is what they need, these are the projects they have, and I'll do this for every single client. And you can just set this up like in Google Docs, Notion, Asana, Trello, just whatever. It's very easy, free. You don't have to spend any money, just maybe an hour to get it all set up. And
Hmm.
that's something I use. And often like when I am working with clients, I will use whatever systems they have. A lot of them will have like an Asana or Trello or Airtable set up like with the workflow within their company, and like they'll add me to the account, so I will like work within their system. So yeah, pretty much I
Cool.
use all of the tools.
That's beautiful. And also, speaking of tools that can help you stay on top of things, you can use code 20thread for 20% off your first order with EssayPro. I don't know if you knew that, but that's something you can use too. It's absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, let's keep it going. Let's keep it pushing.
Mm-hmm.
If a student listening is feeling stuck or overwhelmed, hypothetically, what would you say to them?
Mm. So I came across this line when I was scrolling and it really stayed with me. And it said that you are very, very young and you're just learning how to live. Mm.
Hmm,
It's
that's,
like
that's,
you're very, very young. You're just learning how to live. And I feel like that really takes the pressure off of feeling like you have to have it all figured out, that you have to stay on top of things. I'm like, no, like you're just figuring things out. You're young, you're learning how to live. And I feel like we put so much pressure on ourselves to like get things done and have all the answers and know which path to go on, which is also another ridiculous thing because I feel like when we are just teenagers, we are expected to like pick the education stream and career that we want to go down on. And I feel like
mhm,
I'm stupid at 15. Like, I don't know
100%.
what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Like,
Yeah.
how can I decide what I want to do for the rest of my life when I'm like making crazy, rash decisions?
And you're not
And
even a quarter way into your life, hopefully. You know,
yeah.
it's crazy. That's
Like
absurd.
science has shown like our brains don't even fully develop until we are like 25. So I'm
Hmm.
like, what kind of informed decisions do you think teenagers are making?
No, we should leave them in high school till 25. And then after high school,
Yeah.
then we send them out.
But I feel like what I'm trying to get at here is like nobody has these answers. We're not born with like a life path that we know of, at least. And I feel like just give yourself that space to like be overwhelmed and lost and confused, especially like because I feel like most of the viewers are on the younger side. I
100%.
feel like you don't know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. So like
Exactly.
just experiment and make mistakes and have fun, and you don't need to be like the super responsible ideal vision of an adult. Just live.
Mhm. Yeah, it's our first time here. This is all the first time here. We're all figuring it out.
Yeah,
Even the old
yeah.
guys,
And
they're all figuring it out. It's still their first time.
I know because like if you ask like 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, like do you regret, and they still have like, oh, I wish I did this and I wish I knew this, and they still
Mhm.
have like a completely this craving for like, oh, life didn't go my way and I wish I would have done that. So it's like nobody has it all
Mhm.
figured out. Nobody, not even like the biggest, richest, baddest, most successful guys, like even they
Yeah.
are struggling.
They may have beat the game of capitalism, but they're still figuring out the game of life.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Exactly, right?
Come on. Can I get it
Exactly.
printed? Do you have much?
I might write that down. I'll write that down for you. I'll email it.
I need a much. I need
We'll
a
make some
t-shirt
we'll
with
make some
like
t-shirts, some hats, some stickers, and all of it.
yes, please. Yes, yes. I'll buy it. Yeah, for
Okay, hell
sure.
yeah. I'll sell it. Okay, cool. Um, we're getting to our last question. Okay.
Ooh,
This
I'm
one's a little
sad
bit
already.
this one's a little bit personal maybe. What is one thing that you wish somebody told you when you started your multitasking journey?
Mm. I would say like capitalize on what is going well at that moment. So
Hmm.
like I mentioned, like there was a point where I was getting really, really good projects, and I really worked hard at that time. I remember like once I got up in the morning and I went straight to my desk, I started working. I did not stop until it was lunchtime. And my dad was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, are you crazy? He was like, why are you working so hard? And I felt like I kind of realized at that moment, like this is not going to be constant. I'm not always going to get all of these big projects, and at some point things were going to change and I would lose it all, whatever. And I was like, because I had those things in my hand, I wanted to make the best out of them. And that is what
Mm-hmm.
happened, because I feel like a few years later, I feel like with all the budget cuts and layoffs and the recession, like things went really, really wrong for the economy as a whole. And that was when projects started dropping. And I felt
Yeah.
like I was so happy that I really, really worked hard at that time and made the most out of it. I feel like I do regret that there were some moments where I could have done better, but I was like, and that kind of taught me, like, but also like the opposite perspective. Now I feel like I am not bombarded with projects. I have more free time, and this is when I'm like really living more. I feel like I'm doing a lot of things that I would not have done if I just
Mm-hmm.
sat behind my desk.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was talking with like a fellow freelancer, and she was like, what's up with my life, what's up with your life, and we used to like like give each other life updates. And I realized like the last 5 times I talked to her, I only talked about work. And I was like, there's something really wrong with me if all I'm excited about is work. Like I
Mm-hmm.
could have the most promising career, I could be like richer than Elon Musk,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, is that all there is to life? And I was like, the sixth time when she asked me like what's up, and I was like, I wish I had a different answer. I wish I could say something more exciting, like I learned something new, I traveled or whatever. So I was like, this has to change. And like that was like the point where even the project started like weaning off a little bit because of the like crazy economy things going on. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, let me use this opportunity to like build a life outside of work. And I was like, I started planning a lot of solo trips to travel. I started
Good.
doing other things I really like. I got into music. I was like, I want to get into podcasting. I wanted to like be a creator in more
Mm-hmm.
holistic terms, not just client work, but like
Yeah.
more creative. And I started pursuing those opportunities because I had the time. And I feel like this is the kind of balance that I feel like we touched on. It's like sometimes this is what needs your focus, and sometimes this is what needs your focus. You cannot be consistent
Mm-hmm.
like every single time. And this is where the productivity advice falls apart, because it's like
Mm.
consistency, discipline, and stuff. I feel like if
Yeah.
I dedicate the same time to every single thing now, it doesn't make sense, because it's not like compatible with what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like just understanding the rhythms of life and adapting to them.
Yeah.
And sometimes there will be times when you have to work really, really hard, like hustle, whatever.
Exactly.
And there will be time when you can just kick back and have fun.
Yeah. Those periods of
So,
ebbs and flows in life are
mhm.
necessary. And I feel like
Yeah,
you also need to
exactly.
be a fully realized person. Like you need to experience the
Mm,
world to be good at, I feel like anything you do. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like I have some other friends who are actors and like they take time off to kind of just live life. Like they go, they travel for a
mm.
bit. And some people looking from the outside are like, "What are you doing, bro? It's all or nothing. You got to be locked in. You got to be grinding all the time." But it's like,
Yeah,
no, like you come back and you lived and you can see it in the work that they do, that they've experienced this stuff. It's so beautiful, you know? I love that.
exactly. The same friend I was talking with, like, I remember it was crazy because we were talking about creativity when I told her that I was exploring like other creative avenues like music and stuff. And I
Hmm.
remember, like, when I look back, I was like, that's crazy. But I told her that I felt guilty for doing these things because I felt like I was wasting time, that I
Hmm.
was not making money. I was like, I
Yeah.
should work. I was
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? Like, do you realize how capitalistic or how like crazy you have to be to start thinking of creativity and living life and enjoying as like
Hmm.
something that's bad, that
Exactly.
you like an indulgence? Like, since when has living life become like a luxury?
Yeah, we're human beings, not human doings.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
true. That's really
Exactly.
good.
And I was like, just looking back at that conversation, I was like, wow, I need to touch grass. I really
Congrats.
need to touch grass.
Yeah,
I
that's
need to
great.
live.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of you know, saving time and money and, living a great happy life,
Mm-hmm.
viewers, you guys can use code 20thread for 20% off your first order with Essay Pro. And there we have it. Thank you so much, Sakshi. This was a great time. This is all the questions we got for today. Is there
Mm-hmm.
anything else you want to touch on?
No, I had a really, really fun time talking with you. This didn't feel like an interview. It felt like I was talking to a friend, and I
Oh,
just
I'm
had such
glad.
an
I'm
amazing
glad.
time.
I'm glad. I'm glad you had a great time. I had a great time too.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time, I suppose.